In this video, I'm going to show you how to translate a WordPress website just like I did for my client. We will be covering from the very first steps on how to install a language or translation plugin, which is Polylang in this case, and how you are going to set up that language plugin. For instance, when you come here to set up, you'll be able to run a wizard, add the languages that you want to translate your website to, and from there we can go ahead and start translating the pages. We can translate the pages that are in Gutenberg and also Elementor. Just like you can see on this page, it was translated from the first language to the second language, which is Deutsch, from English, and you can see all the content is in German. And I'll be taking you through the exact process that I used to translate all these pages for this website. By the end of the video, you'll be able to have a fully translated website, and your website visitors will be able to switch from one language to another, just like this. So I have just switched from English to the German language, and now my website visitors are able to scroll through or to read my website in the German language. They can as well go ahead and switch to another language, back to English in this case, and also be able to browse the website, including all other pages. For instance, if I go to the contact page, here is the contact page in English, but also I can view this contact page in German. I'll also be taking you through on how you can translate your contact forms just like this over here, and also how to add this language switcher right over here and custom flags to your WordPress website. So if that is the kind of video you are looking for, then make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get started. Just quickly and briefly, or which comes first, briefly or quickly, or whatever comes first, I don't really care. So just to take you through what I did before I went to do the actual creation of this homepage here, was basically to create the mockups here in Figma. So here is the Figma file. Of course, we created the first versions and the mockups and the wireframes until when we go to this page, which is like the final page. Of course, some things changed in the actual build, and this happens often when you actually build the page versus what is in the Figma file or the prototype. So anyway, but when you look over here, we have the language version that we are going to translate this website, or the possibility to translate the website. And here the idea was just to add the text, not to have the flags, but then we ended up adding the flags and the text as well, which is not really a big deal, but it's not a big deal in the design process, but a big deal in the development process. So anyway, there we are. So we had our final page and of course the other pages. Now, after having our mockups, then we went straight into WordPress to start developing the website. So here is the home page, and yeah, when you scroll through and go straight down here below, you see that everything appears just like we had earlier anticipated to show it in the mockups. Like I've told you, some things really change when you start building. The ideas change and the view of things, how they look like on mobile and tablet and other devices. They make you to change a bit of how you anticipated, but you still stick to the design. So that's not the important thing. So right now what I wanted to show you is basically here the language option, to be able to switch the language. And once someone clicks now here on the language flag or on the text, it takes them to the language version, which is now the home page, but now in Deutsch or in German. And so here is the page, and you see everything just translates or is translated into the other language. So that's how it looks like, the entire website and all other pages. So for instance, you see that everything is also translated here on the contact page, and there is something specific I want to talk about this contact page later on in the video. So if you want to see what you have to do with your forms if you're creating a multi-language website, please stick around in this video. So anyway, now let me show you in the back end what really happens. So here in the dashboard, since we are creating a multi-language website, the first thing you have to do is to have the first language fully set up. I mean, you build the website in the first language and set up everything the way it should be. because that is going to make the process of translating the website way easier and faster. So in this case, when I come here to pages, I had to create all my pages that were in English. So for instance, here I'm going to just show pages in English. So initially we only had these pages here in English. And one thing I have to mention for those of you who want to do website translation for the first time, so for every language, you have to have a page for it. So that's where you see, if I say show all languages, you will see that the pages are kind of duplicated. We have double the number of the pages. Once you are done creating your pages in the one language, or the content for the pages in that the first language, then you can start on the translation process. But it's not only the pages, also other website sections like the header, the menus and navigation. So in this case, when we come to appearances, I come to menus, you realize that this is a main menu which is in German, and I also have a main menu which is in English. So the first menu that I had on the website was the normal menu which is in English. And once I started the translation process, I had to create a new menu which is for the people who are going to browse the website in German. So once I had my mockups approved by the client and everything is nice and neat, then we are able to start building in WordPress and start building the entire pages. And once all the pages are up in one language, then we go to the next step. And what is the next step? The next step is actually translating the website. But before we go into the real translation of the website, let me show you what I'm using to actually build this website. So I'll start up from the themes. I'm actually using the Astra theme, and this is the free Astra theme. You realize that I have the Astra theme and also the child theme, which is also the Astra child theme. You don't necessarily need it, but I wanted to add a child theme because I added some features that, for example, custom CSS code, like adding the language flags in the folder of the Astra child theme, which I'll talk about later in this video. That's why I added the child theme just to safeguard me from losing some of these features once I update the actual theme. But I'm using the Astra free version. And then let's look into the plugins. What am I using? Since this website is built using Elementor, of course I have the Elementor page builder, so which is here. And hey, I have to mention that this website is built using completely free, add-ons and plugins and everything. And for you who are translating a website and you're translating it using Elementor Pro version, you are going to need an extra plugin from the translation plugin. In this case, I'm using Polylang, so that you are able to add some of these widgets in the header and the footer of Elementor. But in this case, I didn't have to add the extra plugin from Polylang, which is an add-on still. So on that later. So I have Elementor here, which is the page builder, and then Loginizer for security. Then I have Polylang, which is the actual plugin that I used for translating this website. Really simple, easy plugin to set up and to configure everything. This, I have to admit, is my first experience using Polylang because, hey, the client was like, hey, Hamza, I want you to use Polylang because I find it popular and many people are using it. So I was like, okay, why not try it out? Because my experience was with another plugin. Then I have premium add-ons for Elementor. If you've been watching this tutorial, you know I use premium add-ons for Elementor a lot in adding extra features for Elementor. And then I have Sure Forms. This is a new plugin. I have a video on my channel about how you can set up and use Sure Forms and create forms with Sure Forms. I used it for this website and it worked perfectly well. SVG support for WordPress, because I use a lot of SVGs in this project for literally the flags and a lot more icons that I have on this website. And then WP Total Cache, that is for caching the website. And then I have WP Code because I added some extra code. Then I have WPVV. This is simply for backup and restoration. To start on the translation process, you will come over here to plugins and say add a new plugin. So here you look up for Polylang. So here is Polylang, you install it and activate it. And like I've already mentioned, if you're using Elementor Pro for the headers and the footers, you may need this extra Polylang Connect plugin. But in this case, I did need it because I'm using free tools for the entire project. So once you install Polylang, you'll have to run a wizard to set up Polylang. So I'll come here to setup. So here Polylang will run a wizard where you have to select your default language and then the other languages that you want to add on your website or which you want to translate your website to. So in this case, I have English as a default language, and when you click over here, you can see different languages that you can translate your website to. You select that language and then you can say add the language, and then it will show up over here. Like I've told you, this is not a complete tutorial on how to translate a WordPress website, but I want to share with you the process that I used to create this exact website. However, if this video gets 100 likes, then I'll make a complete tutorial on how to create a website in different languages. So anyway, now once you have your Polylang set up, the other things that you have to set up for Polylang, still under here languages, this menu item by the way is from Polylang. Still under languages, there is the option called settings. So come over there to settings. So here there is what they call URL modifications. Literally you can leave it on a default settings, which is this. Works out perfectly for me, and that's what I used. So here it says the language is set from the directory name, and this is how it looks like. So for example, your website, then the name of the language or the code of the language, and then the post name. And then here it says hide URL language information for default language, which is awesome because if it's the default language, you don't want that you don't want to show the language code. So this is how it appears. So it would hide, in this case, the EN at the end of the URL if English is the default language, but it would show the language code if it's another language. So save changes. That is the format that I want, but I realize some other people want this kind of format. I personally don't like the structure of the URL in this format, so I always go for this kind of format. So I also set up the custom post type and taxonomies, which I checked everything here, including majorly the Sure forms, because remember we have to have different forms for the different languages, and that means you have to work on them separately. So once that is done, then I went here to synchronization, made sure that I leave everything checked in this case, and then I am done with the settings, the basic settings for Polylang. How easier could that be? But I want to mention one more thing. There is the media option here when you say activate the media option. So here it says activate the languages and translation for media only if you need to translate the text attached to the media. So like for example, the title, the alternative text, the caption, and the description. So if you want that kind of thing, you can go ahead and do it. However, please, if you enable this feature and you don't add that additional information in another language for the media, that media will not appear on another page without that additional information, even if you add that media on the page. So keep that at the back of the mind. Now, once we are done with setting up our settings, we can go now here to languages, and you will see that we have our languages. And if you've chosen a wrong language, or if you chose not your favorite language as a default language, you can still change it here by clicking on any of these tabs here and say, for instance, I want German to be my default language. Please also remember that these flags that you see here, these will be the flags that will be displayed in the navigation if you want to have flags enabled in the navigation. However, in my case, like you have already seen, you realize that I actually use custom flags, and this is something I'll show you later on in this video. The other feature that I want to show you is here under translations. There are some strings that you cannot translate in Elementor, but you can also not translate in the theme level. And I like the fact that Polylang provides the option to translate them right over here. All these strings here are for the language English. And now if I come here at the top and I switch to Deutsch and I change those strings to German, that means that this string here, I'll give it here a name that is in German. I also have to mention that I did not do the automatic translation where the machine is deciding how to translate the words. The client actually provided a documentation. Because I'm not a native speaker here, I don't yet really understand the language. So the client provided all the, the texts for how and where to place the translation. So that helped me really a lot. And if you're doing this for your own side and you want to have it in another language, really it's good that you work with a native speaker, or you can hire someone of Fiverr or Upwork to help you with the translations. But I have to mention that the machine translations are not that perfect to help you in the translation process. For example, like translating some of these strings to the exact meaning. For example, in German, there is a formal writing and the informal writing, and you want to have the right kind of writing on your website. So anyway, once you are done out translating those, you just save changes here. Now this is for Deutsch, but if you have another language and you come here up, it will show all the available languages that you have enabled on your website. Now, what do you do if you want to translate the actual pages for the website? So here we have pages, all pages. So once you are here, you are now seeing that I'm only having the German pages showing up. That's because I have the German languages selected up here. But if I say show all languages, then all the pages are going to appear in all the other languages. Let me give you an example. So on this website, I had some pages that are using the Gutenberg editor and other pages that are using the Elementor editor. That is because I didn't want to use the layout that I use on my website pages on other pages that are not that relevant to the business, but they are very important and critical for the website to work or to be allowed to work officially. So for example, the impressum page and the imprint page and the privacy policy page, or what here they call the Daten Schutzerklärung page, so which is the same as data protection. These two pages are the same, they have the same information but in different languages, and they were all created using Gutenberg. So for instance, when I come here to say edit page, so you'll see that it is the Gutenberg editor, and the same here, Gutenberg editor. When I say edit, it's the Gutenberg editor. And I have to mention that all this content was provided by the client, which is in German. Once I'm done adding all that content on the website, then I moved on to the next part, which was actually the Elementor translations. So here to pages, all pages, add here a dummy page so you have an idea. So I'm going to say demo, and then I say publish. So I have published this page and it is in English, and let me just go back here to the pages area. So once you have all your pages, now I suppose they are all showing the English flag in this case, and you want to create a translation of that page. What you're going to do is to click over here on this plus, because now you are clicking on that plus and it is representing adding the German version of that page. And in this case, the translation plugin will understand that you want to create a version of this page in that language, in German in this case. So I don't know what the word demo is, but I'll say demo German, and then here I will have to go and translate that string or that sentence that this page is published in German. There is a website called DeepL. It is said it is better in translation. This is a published page. This is how it is translated, but diese ist eine öffentliche Seite. Öffentliches means public, but I say published. Oh, here I can say diese ist eine for öffentliche Seite. So maybe this makes much more sense. So I'll just say copy this, and then I come here and then I add my translated text, and then I say publish. Good. Now I'm going to go back here to my pages, and now when we look here in our pages, we have the demo page, which is in English, and then we have the demo page, which is in German. So you see we have the German flag. Now if you want to edit this page, you just click here on the pencil or here in the pencil. You can choose also to filter and say I only want to see pages in one language by coming over here and say I want to see only pages that are in German. But now let's go to the interesting bit, which is translating the pages that are in Elementor. It is literally the same process. So for instance, I am going to come over here to the to this page called Angebot, which is like offer or service, and then I say edit with Elementor. This will open up this page in the Elementor editor, and then you go ahead on each and every section of the website and translate the text there. I would also show you the English version in this case, so show all pages, and then I open up where is services, which is this here, edit with Elementor. We have services, and then we have Angebot. And what changed here is basically getting the services widget and then coming over here and change it to another language. However, you have to be working on the right page. So basically I opened up two pages, so one in English and one in German, and then I go ahead and translate the strings from English to German. So anyway, now once you are done adding all your content to your pages in both the languages, then you'll have something like this, pages that are looking kind of duplicate. But before we close up the page section, let's talk about the contact page or your contact forms, because I find that a bit tricky to work with. In this case, I have the contact page in English and also the contact page in German. So I'm going to open up here the contact page in both languages. So here is the contact page in English, and here is the contact page in German. So you go ahead and do the same thing. You look at your contact page and then see all the content that you want to translate, and then come back here and do the translation. Click and open and add the relevant texts. And maybe you are wondering, how do you get this content into the page? You can simply just do the copy paste process from the English version to the German page, and then you start doing the translation from English or to whatever language that you are working with. But that will not work with the contact form, because the contact form, for example, you see these fields, I cannot edit them from here in the editor, because the contact form is not an Elementor contact form. In this case, it is a sure form contact form, and that means I had to create different contact forms. So in this case, I have the contact form for English and the contact form for German. So just to show you that really well, so I come here to contact forms, and then I see the dashboard, and then you see that I have two contact forms. So where are these contact forms? So here are the contact forms. So I have the one in English and one in German. So what I did was to duplicate both contact forms, and then for each contact form, so specifically the one for German, I had to go and change the the labels. So for in this case, the Vorname, which is the first name, and then the last name. So I had to change the labels here to the language, which is German, all these and these, and also the button, just like you have to do it when you are creating the English version. So that ends up being that you have two contact forms on your website, the one in the language that you want and the one in another language. Once you are done translating your pages, what next is to work on your menus and navigation. So when we come here to appearance, menus, and we look at the menus of our website, by this time you only have one menu, which you earlier created in English. So you have it as the main menu, and then you have all the pages listed over there, and you want to add one more thing, which is the language switcher. So this language switcher is what you see here on the website, this over here. And you can set it up in different ways. You can say display it as a drop down. Let me just save this so you can see that it shows up as a drop down. So I'm going to reload here. So here you see now I have it showing up as a drop down. I didn't want that to happen. I just wanted it to be just when someone clicks on the flag that says English, then automatically your website switches to the English version. You can say to display flags, you can say to hide the flags, you can say to force link to front page, whatever you want. Go ahead and set it up. So in my case, I say display language names and display flags and then hide current language. If I'm to disable the language names and they save changes, so I'm here, then I'm reloading. You see that now I only have the language flag showing up over here, and when someone clicks over there, they are taken to the other language. But I prefer to have both the language name and the flag showing up here, so save changes. Now let's talk about creating the menu for the other language. So that means that you have to come here to menus and you have to say create a new menu. So create a new menu and then create that menu, give it a name, and then assign it to a section of your website, menu Spanish. And then you say, I want to assign it as a primary menu for Spanish. And the good thing is that Polylang is going to look up and say, hey, you have these languages enabled on your website and you can only assign a menu to a specific language. You know, for instance, here it says primary menu for English, primary menu for Deutsch. So I don't have primary menu for Spanish because I don't have Spanish enabled for translation on my website. So you can see even all other menu parts of the website, for example, the footer menu, the logged in menu for the account, and off canvas menu. These are the menu locations for the Astra theme, but Polylang creates another option for another enabled language that you have on the website. Let's go and look at the menu, which is German menu. So Haupt menu. You see that I have the same menu items that I've already created in the pages, just like I want it to be the same and match with the main menu that is in English. Remember also not to forget to add the language switcher for the people who are viewing the website in German, and then assign that menu to the primary menu, which is German, and also off-canvas menu, because the off-canvas menu appears on mobile when people are viewing your website on the mobile device. You can go ahead and create other menus if you have them, like for example the footer menu. So in this case, I have a menu down below here. So I have this menu over here in the footer, and if you go and look at this website on the German version, you will realize that I have the same menu but with different menu items but in German. So that's because I created a different menu for that. So I'll see secondary menu Deutsch. Yeah, this is the menu right over here. Now the other menu that you saw, footer menu Deutsch, this actually is for the privacy and data protection notification or content. So that is the same, which is appearing right over here. And by the way, one of the reasons why I chose Astra, or why I keep building with Astra, is that they give me many menu creation possibilities in this case. Because if you're working with a theme and it only gives you the option to create only two menus, the header and then the footer, or the header and then the secondary menu, then you will not have the possibility to have these other menu options. Now that we have added the default languages and the content and the menu, what else? One of the things that I had to do was to change the flags from these boring flags that come with Polylang, like these over here. By the way, the client was very specific that they want that the flags are both in UK and English, US, and also that the flags are showing for the German side, that the flags are showing Austrian, German, Austria, and also the German flags. So those are SVG icons that I have to work on and then resize and then upload. But one thing I have to mention is that if you're uploading these custom flags, they can be in SVG, they can be in JPG or PNG. You should not upload them to the Polylang folder in WordPress, because if you update the Polylang plugin, you will lose those flags and they will be replaced with the default flags from Polylang. So what you have to do is to add them to, another folder. So it could be in the public directory. So here is my public folder on my server, and right here under WP content is where you can add the Polylang folder. You can create a Polylang folder and add those 2 flags inside that Polylang folder, and make sure that you give them the right language code. This over here, local, these are the right language codes that you should rename those flags. For example, en_gb.png in case you're using PNG. In my case, I'm using SVGs, and then that is how Polylang will be able to see those flags. In my case, I did a different way because I'm having a child theme, so I wanted to put all the custom settings in my child theme folder. So under content, I went ahead and looked up for themes under the theme folder. Then I went to Astra Child, and here is where I added my Polylang folder. So it has the 2 flags, one the German flag and one the English flag. So the mistake most people make is to go here to plugins and then they look up for Polylang. So this is Polylang, and then they are adding the flags right over here in the language flag, in the flags folder. That is actually a mistake, because when you update Polylang, you're going to lose the flags that you added and they will be replaced by the Polylang flag. So don't do that. Just create your own folder, just like I've earlier shown you. Now, once you add your custom flags into the folder, you are going to come back here to settings and then come here to URL modifications and just save changes again. That will kind of update the Polylang settings, and then they will reflect on your website, and now you'll be able to see the custom flags that you added on your website right over here. So thank you so much for watching this video. It's been a pleasure to share it with you and to take you through the entire process. And if you want me to create now a complete video starting from zero, creating a multi-language website in WordPress and Elementor for free, make sure that this video hits 100 likes, and then I'll create that video. Don't forget to subscribe as well. My name is Hamza, and see you in the next video.